Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and in this video, I am excited to share with you some amazing information about one of the most powerful spices in the world, and that is clove. Now, I keep a little used lid full of clove buds on my desk because this is something that my dad did. As far as he always had whole cloves available, he used them in some of his formulas, and to this day, this is something that I keep by my computer. I have a little baggie of these whole cloves in my hiking pack, and it's something that I have come to love and continue to love throughout my entire life. Now, many people just think that this is a holiday spice, so I am here to share information that might blow you away. And there's a lot of really amazing, magical, mystical, historical uses of it too, because this has been used medicinally for thousands of years. In fact, there were wars fought over cloves because of not just how amazing it made your food taste, but all of the amazing health benefits. In fact, at one point, it was used as currency and it was considered more valuable than gold. So this is something to really pay attention to because it's such a simple way to really affect a lot of the things in the systems that our body has with one little teeny tiny beautiful clove. Now, clove is the dried flower bud of an evergreen tree that is originally from the Spice Islands in Indonesia. So it still mainly grows there, but it now is also grown in Madagascar, Tanzania, India, and even Sri Lanka. So this is something that is now available all over the world. And I personally buy this plant, buy these little clove buds whole by the pound. So I can fill up my little hiking pack. I can fill up this little lid that I keep here because not a day goes by that I don't pop one of these in my mouth when I'm sitting doing emails. I'll chew on it because one of my favorite health benefits of the clove, it's what it does for oral health. And if you look at what it does, it's antibacterial properties, antiviral, anti-inflammation. It's good for pain. It's good for digestion. It's good for cognitive health. There are just so many massive health benefits to this magical spice that it would be worth your time to maybe even try that. And I'm going to share a bunch of information with you, not only with its health benefits, but some magical, mystical, long time, thousands of use history that human beings have been using this for most of the time on this planet, at least in the last couple thousand years, which to the best of our memory as modern humans, these are some of the most powerful things to pay attention to. Here's some really cool information. So there's a compound in cloves that's called eugenol. And that is what it gives it its power, okay? It's a strong antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and one of my favorite things is analgesic, so pain relieving. In fact, that eugenol is something that will go after numbing a tooth if you have tooth pain. In fact, many early dentists and many biological dentists still to this day will use a compound made from eugenol directly from the cloves when numbing an area and, helping with oral health. So it's something really simple to do and use. Like I said, really pay attention to when it comes to what can I add into something that just, think about if you like to snack on chips during the day, grab a clove, chew on it, roll it around in your mouth. I don't, sometimes I'll swallow it, but most of the time I'll chew it up. It becomes this, little mash of clove, and then I will usually spit it out or throw it away. But sometimes I'll swallow it because there are so many great benefits. Think about what it does for digestion, right? Now, of course, the information that I share with you is not meant to be medical advice. This is just meant to entertain and educate you. So do your own due diligence, make sure you know what you can or can't do or can use, or if you have your own medications that might interact. There's always the nuances of paying attention to your own health individually, okay? So cloves are loaded with some of the most powerful antioxidants known to man, okay? That gram for gram, they are one of the most antioxidant-rich spices on earth. So gram per gram. Now, when you think antioxidant, think things like anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, anti-pain, great for digestion, all of the things that antioxidants, anti-aging, In fact, one of the main reasons I love it, like I said, is for my oral health and the way it makes my mouth feel. It feels fresh. In fact, this was one of the things that my dad definitely passed on to me and all my siblings, was his love of chewing on a clove, because tastes good, it's got so many health benefits, and it's super easy to add into your routine. Now, the cool thing about cloves is they support multiple systems in your body. Okay, so think about that. They improve digestion, reduce bloating, and they calm nausea. So I know people who will take and chew on a clove after a meal for those exact reasons. If you feel a little bit bloated, you're having a little bit of indigestion, and even if you're not having those things, this can help you digest your food while, to chew on this right after a meal. Okay. There is some studies that have shown it can help balance blood sugar and reduce or improve insulin sensitivity. They support heart health and circulation. They're great for inflammation, joint pain, and arthritis discomfort. In fact, one of my favorite things is to make a clove tea. You can take like 4 or 5 clove buds, steep them in water. What I like to do is actually boil up some water, put the clove buds in there, cover it so that it can steep and all of that can soak in. And you also don't want to lose what will dissipate into the air from a clove. So this is why, I have these little things that will cover my tea while my tea is steeping, because it keeps all the things that need to stay in the tea in the tea. And cloves are one of those teas that when you make clove water or clove tea, that you want to cover it while it steeps. And I like to steep mine for a long time, 15, 20 minutes. And then when you drink clove tea, not only does it taste delicious, but you can literally feel it going in. It's great for your respiratory health as well. Like I said, your heart health, so many beautiful things. So there's a really cool little 7-day trick, and I'm going to put this below this video, of ways that you can use cloves in 7 days to help improve your health. And you will notice a dramatic difference, okay? So on day 1, drink clove tea for your digestion. On day 2, have clove water for blood sugar support. So you can take your clove water, make up multiple batches of it, and put it in the refrigerator and let it sit there till you're ready to drink it later during the day or the next day. I don't suggest that you put a whole bunch of clove water in the fridge for the whole week. Make it up fresh and maybe let it only last for a couple of days. All right, now day 3, do clove and cinnamon for immunity. I talked about cinnamon in the last video, so I'll put a link to that below this video. Clove and cinnamon together, the cinnamon sticks and the cloves directly steeped in boiling water with a cover on it. Perfection. Day 4, clove balm or tea for joint pain. So you can make a balm out of clove oil and something like beeswax, coconut oil. You can mix a little balm, just like some of the balms that we make, the salves, and you can use it, rub it on elbows, rub it on knees, rub it anywhere there's joint pain, on your fingers and on your hands. It is super, super fun to make some of these homemade remedies, because not only is it fun, but it's empowering to be able to do this for yourself. Now on day 5, clove rinse for oral health. So you can make a rinse with it, just like you would steep it. But for me, I like to chew on a clove for my oral health. Day 6, clove inhalation for stress and mental clarity. So one of the ways you can do this is get clove essential oil, which we get when we put it into some of our soaps. We have a homemade soap that we make that is clove and rosemary. And that we literally use clove essential oil and rosemary essential oil, and we put it into our homemade soap. So you can use clove oil in your essential oil diffuser so that you can inhale it you can inhale the aroma of it, and it reduces stress and anxiety, and it gives you mental clarity, because like I said, it's very good for cognitive health as well. And then day 7, do ginger and clove tea for full body balance. Amazing, right? Here are some specific remedies that I like to use cloves for, and I'm just going to list them off quickly. So for digestion and bloating, try a simple clove tea. For blood sugar support, drink clove water. For colds and coughs, use clove with honey. For toothaches and gum problems, gently apply clove oil. For arthritis and joint pain, use a warm clove balm. For heart health, drink ginger and clove tea. For immunity and energy, try clove and cinnamon. For stress and anxiety, use clove inhalation. For sinus congestion and headaches, try clove steam inhalation. For skin fungus or athlete's foot, use a clove soak. So soak your feet in clove water. For nausea or motion sickness, try clove with lemon. For muscle spasms or low back pain, use clove and mustard oil. Interesting, right? For sore throat, gargle clove and salt water. For memory and focus, combine clove and walnuts. And for bad breath, simply chew one whole clove. Okay? And like I said, this is something that my dad always did. It was just part of who he was, along with some other amazing, cute, quirky things that he would do. In fact, one of our favorite memories of my dad is he loved onion sandwiches. He would get 2 slices of bread. He would put mayonnaise on either side, slice up thick slices of onion, put it between the bread, close it up, and he would literally eat an onion sandwich and just relish in it. And I think this is maybe one of the reasons that he got in the habit of chewing on whole cloves after he would eat, or just anytime during the day. My dad was chewing on a clove or some other kind of herb or spice or something. But I do believe the cloves helped mitigate all of the stuff that would come from eating an onion sandwich, which is one of me and my siblings' favorite memories. And to this day, most of us not only love cloves, but we love onions. And an onion sandwich is a wonderful thing to bring back memories of someone that affected you so strongly, like my dad did, affected me. So here's some fun, quirky facts about cloves. Now, cloves are flower buds, not seeds. Their name comes from the Latin word meaning nail. If you look at what a clove looks like, it looks like a little nail. Clove oil is still used in modern dentistry today to help with numbing. And I know many people, many of my siblings, and even myself included, I haven't had to do this for a while, but to help numb the ache of a toothache, if you have a cavity that needs to be fixed, or, you can chew on a clove until you can get into the dentist, and it will actually help numb up a cavity or some tooth pain. And it will help with the inflammation and the bacteria that lives in your mouth. There's so many multiple reasons to simply chew on a clove. Also ants hate cloves, which makes them a natural pest repellent. So I know I've done this. I've ground up some fresh cloves, or even just taken whole cloves, because I do buy it in such bulk. And I will take it where maybe there's a bunch of ants who found their way into my house, in my kitchen. We have a cement slab is the floor of our main living area, and it's heated, and there's no basement below it. So in the winter, the ants are attracted to these lovely cement floors that are heated, and I'll just put a little bit of cloves where the ants are, and it repels ants. And it's beautiful, it's natural, and then it actually makes your area where you live and where you put this smell good. Now, my thing is I have to not forget that they're there, because there could be little cloves here and there, but this is something I've done for so long that I know where they are. I'll sweep them up after a couple of days, and then I might place a few more if I need to. So they're a natural ant repellent because ants do not like them. Now and in Indonesia, cloves are even used in traditional cigarettes called kretek. In fact, clove cigarettes is something has been known for a long time. One of my favorite things growing up was clove gum, and they would use real cloves, the eugenol from real cloves. And I think not just because people enjoy chewing gum, but when you chew gum with cloves, you're improving your oral health, which again is one of my favorite things. Now, can you grow cloves? Now, this is a warm weather evergreen tree that grows. And so if you have a greenhouse, you live in a climate, but this is very, very slow growing. In fact, it's going to be 7 or 8 years of growing a clove tree before you can actually harvest the little clove buds, the flower buds, and let them dry to become cloves. So it takes patience, and it takes a long period of time, and before you actually start harvesting them. So if this is something that you have access to the place where you live because you live in an environment like that, or you have a greenhouse, this might be something kind of fun to put into your greenhouse or in your yard if you live in a place where you can grow it, okay? So for some people, what I wrote is that cloves are better enjoyed from the kitchen, not from the backyard, just because you can't necessarily grow them where I know I can't grow them here in Utah. Here's how I'm going to finish this section. I'm going to share some really magical, mystical, great information that's going to be fun to share with you. So cloves may be small, but we need to remember that their health benefits are huge. Okay, huge. From digestion and immunity to pain relief and brain health, this tiny spice has earned its place as one of nature's strongest remedies. Now I'm going to share some really fun stuff with you that I've been really enjoying finding back in some of these old texts and these old mystical, magical things that humans have been using plants and plant medicine for. And cloves are no different. You know, they've been used for and documented for a couple of thousand years. They've been highly revered. And there's some really beautiful things that I'm so excited to share with you. Before cloves were studied in laboratories, we knew about the antioxidant and bacterial compounds. And people already knew that these little clove buds were special. So this is something that we've known even before they were studied, even before modern science and modern medicine jumped in, which it's always great. In fact, there are so many studies that if you were just to do a little bit of a research, you would find some really beautiful, powerful studies, and a lot in dentistry too, because of what it does for numbing and oral health. And I keep saying that because that's what I, for the most part, have used it for, okay? So they are considered protective, sacred, and powerful. So, in fact, some people actually consider them magic. So in many ancient indigenous cultures, illness wasn't just physical. It was believed to come from an imbalanced energy, negative forces, or wandering spirits. Cloves were often burned as incense to purify living spaces, protect the sick, guard sleeping areas, and drive away harmful influences. The strong penetrating aroma was thought to cleanse the air and create a protective barrier between the physical world and the unseen. Beautiful. Shamans and healers also classified plants by their energy. So cloves were considered deeply warming. There's many things that are cooling, but cloves are not just considered warming, but deeply warming. Okay, they were used to restore vitality after illness, strengthen the heart and the breath, wake up sluggish or weakened energy, and call the spirit back into an exhausted body. I love that. Chewing cloves before rituals or healing ceremonies was believed to sharpen awareness and strengthen intention. A numb mouth meant that the plant was active. And I get this every single time I chew on a clove. There's parts of my mouth that go just a tiny bit numb, which is exactly why it's so powerful. And you can really feel it working. It's quite pleasant. At this point, for how long I've been using cloves, it's quite pleasant, okay? In folk traditions across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, cloves were associated with protection, truth, loyalty, and prosperity. They were carried in small sachets sewn into clothing or placed under pillows for safe travel, protection during sleep, preventing nightmares, and guarding valuables. Some believe that cloves could protect the soul while we were dreaming. You know, that one is, to me, I love that. These are some of the really beautiful things that were documented that holds the true power of what these plants do. Cloves were also closely tied to breath and speech. Because breath was seen as life itself, anything that purified the breath was thought to purify words. Before prayers, chants, negotiations, or oaths, people would chew cloves, rinse the mouth with clove-infused water, or burn cloves while speaking intentions. The belief was simple. Clean breath carries true words. So the intention and the belief was simple. Clean breath carries true words. I love that. Cloves even appeared in funeral practices. Okay, they were burned or buried near the deceased to purify the space, protect the living, help guide the spirit onward, and prevent energies from lingering. Okay, isn't that beautiful? Cloves were thought to gently close spiritual doors, not to force them shut. And because cloves sharpen focus and stimulate circulation, they were sometimes used before vision quests, long healing chants, or deep meditation. Not to sedate the mind, but to anchor it. Cloves don't dull the senses, they wake them up. And here's the part that matters. Cloves kill bacteria. They numb pain. They prevent decay. They preserve food. They protect the body. To ancient people, anything that could stop corruption and restore order was considered sacred. So they treated cloves with reverence, and now we know why. What ancient cultures called magic, we now understand as powerful chemistry, biology, and medicine, all packed into a tiny flower bud, which is exactly why cloves are still used today. You know, this is something that has the length, the breadth, the longevity, the beautiful aroma, the beautiful taste. And one of the things that I remember most about what my dad taught me about cloves, and this is why I prefer to get the whole clove buds instead of the dried clove powder, is because when you oxidize, if you were to powder this up, like you can get a little powdered spice or a bigger container of powdered clove spice, what happens is the medicinal properties will oxidate, and they will provide some taste and maybe some smell, but they will not provide the medicinal properties. So this is one of the most powerful things about using cloves, is to either use them in their whole form when you put them into a tea or chew on them or however, or to grind them fresh and then use them. In fact, we put cloves, it's an important, very important ingredient in our Clarkia formula, because even though a lot of the information that I found did not talk about the anti-parasitic properties, except for maybe in the ant repellent, but cloves have a very powerful anti-parasitic property going against the eggs, going after the eggs over 100 different types of parasites and the eggs that can happen in the human body. So when we make our Clarkia formula, the cloves are ground fresh before they are put into the tincture, right before. So then you are getting the height of all these medicinal properties of cloves. So I would love to know what you think about cloves. Do you love it as much as I do? Do you use it? Do you have a little cap full or a little jar full of cloves that you keep around? Maybe you've never used cloves like that, and I'd love to know what you think about it. Thank you for tuning in today, guys, and we will see you in the next one.